Welcome back to Grid Gym, guys. We've got Nancy Newell on the show today. Really excited to have her on. Med ball extraordinaire, teaches softball players how to be better athletes, is coming at you to talk a little bit about her story today. Really excited to have you on, Nancy. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are right now? Because you're at Cressey's right now. I think we've had Tony on the show. We've had both Tonys on the show, actually. We had Tony Bonvecchio and Tony Gentilcore on the show. So maybe we'll get Eric himself on here, maybe Pete even at some point. But tell us a little bit, how did you get here? What got you started? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Alrighty, so how did I end up here at Cressey Sports Performance? I went to SUNY Cortland, which is located about an hour or so south of Syracuse. Got my bachelor's degree there. I started out going to school wanting to do like athletic training, but once I got into like hours and stuff, I realized that I was kind of like standing on the side of the field and I wasn't getting as much action as like I hoped so. So kind of I wanted to be more like impactful, I should say.
Yeah.
So started looking into like cardiac rehab, did an internship through Syracuse, and then it was just like a bunch of people just like walking on treadmills, and it was like really sad, and I was like, I'm a super like energetic person, and I was like, this isn't for me. So after the symposium actually with Tony Gentilcore, John Gaglione, I was kind of speaking with John about like the situation that I was in, and he's like, hey, like I have just the guy to kind of like do a little test run with you. So did my first internship at Joe Meglio's gym, which at the time was located in Mountainside, New Jersey. And that was like my first glimpse of personal training. And most of their clients were like that youth baseball population, anywhere from like 14 to 18. Really enjoyed it. And Joe was like a fabulous coach and mentor. And from there, did my second internship here at Cressey Sports Performance, and did that summer 2015. And then went back to school, and I got a phone call from Pete and Eric saying like, hey, like, we want you back. And I was,
nice.
So as soon as they asked me that, I kind of laid out my options because I was also in the middle of like applying for other jobs. So after I laid it all out, I was like, this is like the most direct field I kind of want to work with. Great people I'm surrounded by. So that was kind of the main reason why I decided to choose CSP.
Yeah, that's cool. Some parallels there. When I first into this isn't what I originally chose. I actually started out in physical therapy and absolutely hated it. Same thing, kind of that cardiac rehab world where all you do is sit and watch people.
Yep.
Same thing. All that would go around is to all these rooms with nothing wrong with the little old ladies were awesome. The problem I had was I was sitting there. It was all outpatient knee and hip replacements.
Yeah.
And I had to put them in pain to move them around. And so, like, I'd show up, they'd be all happy to see me, and then I'd have to move them around. They'd hate me. And I was just like, I hate this. I can't stand this. I feel like stabbing myself every time I walk into one of these old ladies' rooms. And so I got out of it and started doing this and just absolutely loved it. So I get what you mean. Like, a high-energy person does not belong in those realms.
There's a too slow of an environment. So the environment here, semi-private environment, you get to interact with so many people, youth athletes, all the way up to just like your average Joe, you know. So that's something I really, really appreciate being here. So it's not stuck really to one population, which is awesome.
Yeah, we run the same model in the same way where there could be 11 different people on the floor, and 3 coaches, and we're all coaching all of them. So fairly similar to what you guys, just usually a little bit different of a population. They're all, from my standpoint, what do you think of this? That everybody's an athlete on some level, or everybody should train like an athlete. Is that accurate, or are there differences?
I would say, like, looking from my point of view, I mean, all athletes, I wouldn't say all, but like a majority of athletes will squat, deadlift, do some type of press, pull. And even if you're not clarified as like an athlete or playing a sport in the moment, you're basically doing all those lifts. If you have someone who's like an educated trainer, if you're in an educated, semi-private environment, whatever it is, but those are like the same exact movements that professional athletes are doing. We have Yeah, so I'd say it's more like a movement. Like all humans need to be able to like, like squat, deadlift, lunge, push, pull, just to stay healthy really. So I think in a way, yes, general pop people will train as athletes. I'd say like there's few and far in between circumstances that would kind of limit that. Obviously, if you have like something neurological going on,
Sure.
all those little things.
Yeah, extenuating circumstances, right? Yeah.
So, but for the majority, I would say all people are athletes. Athletes run, sprint, change of direction, and even as like a parent, like if you want to be able to go out and play catch with your son or daughter, being able to like move quickly to the right or to the left, like catch a baseball without being afraid of like breaking your back or anything like that. So those are all really important aspects, I should say, to have in your training.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's one of those things that when people are like, oh, they're not athletes, they shouldn't train like athletes. I'm like, what do you mean? Like an athlete's trained for health on something. Like if an athlete isn't healthy, he's not going out on the field or the mat or the court or, and the same thing with you. Like if you're not healthy, you're not going out into life. Guarantee you're like, just like you said, like it doesn't take much to ruin your spine when it's been beaten up for years and years and years, and you don't have the armor around it to keep it in place.
Yeah.
I like to say that that more people hurt their backs tying their shoes or sneezing than they ever have deadlifting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, some of that's a little bit of a play on statistics because the number of people that tied their shoes and sneezed today is drastically larger than the number of people that deadlifted, but still. So what got you? So how did you get started in your own health and performance journey? Because I'm going to take a wild guess that you lift, that you run, that you sprint, that you do all these different things. Like, how did you get started in yours?
I would say like my very first training experience ever was, we did a little strength training my high school year with softball. We kind of did like a little mock lift with like the Cortland softball program. A former player who used to play for Cortland. And so she'd bring in like the workouts and we kind of just go through and literally just do that entire workout. So got my first taste of like, pail off presses, reverse lunges, all that stuff. Wouldn't say that I was like super strong by all means. I think when I went into like my freshman year of college, I was like probably like 105, 110 pounds. And made the softball team my freshman year. Wasn't that great. And I think a part of it had to do with like my lack of strength.
Sure.
Size was like definitely huge. So my sophomore year didn't make the team, and I was like, I definitely need to make a change. So I literally just like found these guys lifting who like looked really strong, and I was like, hey, like, can you help me? And so they're like, oh yeah, of course. So when I got there, like just started putting like a barbell on my back, like squatting to a box. And I literally started off probably with like squatting 85 pounds. I was like, never been so sore in my life, but ever since there,
that's actually pretty good for a 105 pound.
Yeah.
How old? Like you said, you're a freshman in high school at this point.
I was literally 20, and then started like developing like really good relationships with these guys, asking them like, who are some of the people that they read and like who do they learn from?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it all started. Started doing like my own reading and research, and then asking these guys questions, figuring out what really worked for them, and what didn't work for me. So that was kind of nice, just getting a little hands-on experience. And then entered my first powerlifting meet, working with John Gaglione because he was there for that seminar. I started talking to them, got a program.
Yeah.
Looking back, it's like so funny because like those numbers were like so tiny. I think I deadlifted like 185 and benched like 85 pounds, and like it was
There's a little discrepancy there.
It's like pretty crazy how much stronger I've become over the years. It's absolutely.
What are you doing now? Where are your lifts now, or what's the most you ever have ever done? When you start doing this profession, it gets a little harder to. You're on your feet all day, so it's a little harder to lift heavy.
Yeah, that's true. So far, it's bench is like 145, deadlift is 315, and then squat was 225.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Your deadlift's at 315 right now? God, you're such a tiny little thing. That is awesome.
Yeah. So.
Did you go sumo or did you go conventional?
I kind of, when I pulled my 315, I was doing sumo, but I think I'm in the middle, kind of switching over to conventional.
Yeah.
Just to like give it a try. So I'm kind of in the middle of flip flopping. So.
I think that's one of those lifts where I think I go back and forth on this. Like the sumo deadlift just beats up on your hips so much that it's almost warranted to kind of back off and go with the trap bar, go conventional. Yeah, or maybe it doesn't do that to you, but it does to me. So I switch back and forth pretty often.
Yeah, I would say for like the female population, they tend to be a little bit more lax and a little bit more mobile. So females, I feel like, can get away with it a little bit more than like your average Joe guy, just because they kind of lose a lot of that mobility over the years. But if you're a female and like you've trained it a little while, and you also are like definitely a person who stands a little bit more like, you know, externally rotated, I feel like girls can maintain that a lot longer than guys.
I go with you on that for sure. Yeah. And then, so you trained with a bunch of, like, you're starting out, you're training with a bunch of big, strong dudes.
Yeah.
Did you notice, and in your, so then and now, do you think that there should be a huge difference between how females train and how males train?
I would say exercise selection is the same. However, I would say that volume and intensity is different.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
How do you, and go a little deeper with that one, because I think that's great.
So I'd say if you look around at like some of the strongest females, they all squat, bench, deadlift. Strongest males, they all squat, bench, and deadlift. I'd say with females, like the biggest thing is we can handle a lot more volume, and I wasn't really sure of how much volume, but I've been kind of like putting it to the test, and like I can complete probably 8 total lifts or exercises during an upper body day or lower body day, versus like a guy, like an experienced lifter, can probably only do maybe four to 5. So before they get like fatigued out, you just have to like know male, female. Males they have the ability to just carry more, lift more, and just complete a total amount of volume that is a lot more than females. Versus females, like, yeah, like I could go and pull like 5 singles at 300 with probably like 120 seconds rest, and I'd be okay. Versus like a guy taking his 90% is gonna have to rest like that full, maybe like 3-4 minutes, you know. So I think doing timed rest is huge for gaining strength in females. One, we tend to be a little like bit more social when it comes to like the gym, especially if you're girls. Or whoever you tend to lift with, but a lot of your rest times, you could like blink and 5 minutes have gone by, you know? So a big thing that I've done is no matter what lift I'm doing, I always have some type of like time constraint on it, just because girls need more volume. We need more volume in order to kind of catch up to the tonnage that guys are doing. So in regards to females, I think same exercise selections are like great, like they're a must have. But overall, adding in a lot more volume, a lot more max rep sets, timed heavy doubles or triples, just because you're able to get a lot more work done in the same amount of time that a guy is.
Yeah. We still program that kind of stuff in for guys too, but I definitely think that the females are the ones that reap the most benefits off of it. Oh. Like 8 sets of 3 on a deadlift, or 8 sets of 2 on a deadlift, or bench press, whatever you want to do. But yeah, I completely agree. I didn't really understand. It took me, I remember when I first started doing this, I was training, this is like 10 years ago. So it's been a little while, but I was training all these couples. I had like 3 different couples that were coming in and training with me, and the dudes were just trashed out halfway through the workout. And the girls were just like running around like, oh, no big deal. I'm already done. Like they were pretty much done with their workout at 35 minutes. And the dudes are taking all the way, and they're just bitching at the guys the entire time. Like, what's your problem? What's your problem? And it wasn't weight selection. I think that we were right there, but I think it kind of goes back to the Dan John quote. I don't remember how it goes, but he basically says women can move up 5 and do it, you know, like at 95% of their 1 rep max, they'll do it 20 reps, and then they move up 5 pounds and they can only do 1.
Yeah.
It's like the interesting phenomenon, like males to females, where guys are like the complete opposite. They just Like, well, I mean, maybe some of that's just the numbers that we have on guys. All the research is based on male lifting, though. I would imagine most of it anyway. But
so those.
That could have something
Yeah,
to do.
that's been like my biggest, I'd say, realization, especially for young female lifters. Like, I mean, most of them come in, they're not able to do like any push-ups, and like for a simple scenario, if you program, they're there 3 days a week, you program 3 sets of 8, like odds are, like 3 sets of 3, because like they can only do 3 push-ups on the floor. Like, this woman is not going to get stronger. She's not going to get better at doing like 9 push-ups a week. Like, that doesn't happen. And so a simple way that I do to just add in more volume is like, all right, we're going to do 3 sets of maybe like 3 to 4 from the floor to like the best of your ability, and then we're going to move to the pins, and we're going to complete maybe like 8 to 12 push-ups. Like just a sneaky way to like add in more volume, because they need more practice and more reps than your guy, for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. And moving them down to the knees versus moving them to the pins. Thoughts on that?
I do not like push-ups from the knees at all, just because the push-up is a full body exercise, and when you're doing them from the floor, I actually like to coach, pushing my toes into the ground, get my butt engaged, like that's a push-up. So push-up is very like specific. So once you drop it to the knees, it becomes a push-up from the knees, and that's not what they want to be able to do. They want to be able to do a push-up. So
right. And it's a totally different exercise. Like like the way I think of a push-up is it's a moving plank.
Yeah.
Basically. So like let's coach it that way. If we have that big of a problem, let's move them up so they can stay in that. Let's just change the angle. They're horizontal on the floor. Let's move them up to a bar. Move the bar up as high as we need to, and then start dropping them down.
Yeah. That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, we'll even throw a slingshot around them and have them do push-ups from there, just to give them a little bit of kind of a bridge between the last few inches from the pins down to the floor. Like, why not?
Yeah.
I look at the knees and I'm like, if they can't hold their core in place, then they probably don't have any business doing that exercise. If they got to move to their knees, like, we need to move them to something else.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, women and men. Women need a little bit more. Women need a little bit more volume. What do men need to do?
I would say men overall need to. I'd say a lot of them either they're kind of on a spectrum. Either they consistently lift heavy all the time, or they consistently stray away from lifting heavy.
Yeah.
So I do think they need to, whether it's going in and hitting like an 80% like bench press and then doing accessory stuff to help them, I think that's super huge. So getting like used to having heavier weights like in your hand or on your back, either or, that's huge, just to kind of like groove technique. 2, if you stay too light all the time, it's hard for you as an individual or even your coach to see where your weaknesses are. Just because if you can throw around this lightweight for say like 5 to 8 reps, and it's a breeze and you don't really struggle, it's hard to program accessory stuff when we don't get to see your weaknesses as weight goes up. So at least like once a week, hitting something a little bit heavier in that like 85 to 95% range, that gives you a good benchmark really of what your weaknesses are and how to attack it. I'd say men definitely benefit from like a deload more frequently than females. So as a female, I think you can get away with working hard for like 4 to 5 weeks, deload on the 6th week, versus like a guy usually going in after he does like 3 weeks, volume really, really builds up. So getting that consistent 4th week deload, I think it's a lot more beneficial for guys than it is girls.
Yeah, I completely agree. You're like speaking my language right there. Like, I love that. We talk a lot about submaximal loads and like going in and hammering it every single time and trying to do this ego stroking machismo bullshit thing where you're like having to get the bar lifted off of you in the bench, or only going halfway down the squats. I don't got it today. That guy. It's just. I really think that what's going on there is your nervous system is just telling your body, is just screaming at you to stop, and you're just not listening to it. Yeah. But so med balls. Why you like them? What do you like about them, especially for the general population? What's your thoughts? Go anywhere you want.
General population, I think med balls are really, really great. If they want to lose like fat, like that's freaking awesome. Also, there's so many different med ball variations, so people don't really get bored with them versus like a squat, bench, or deadlift. Some people will get really bored of them because it's the same thing, maybe a little bit difference there, but med balls, you can really bring them anywhere. What else? Also, like as you get older, you tend to lose like explosiveness or power. So helping to maintain that quality as you get older is huge. And just like being able to I'd say put out force fast, because I think that's what a lot of lifting is too. Is like being able to like take this force and then be explosive with it. Especially with like any of the big three lifts or anything like that. So that's huge when it comes to like that older population, and helping them nail in that concept of creating force and moving explosively.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that's really a lot of the reason why you start seeing injuries in the older populations. They go to catch themselves and they don't have the ability to produce that force to actually slow themselves down. And if people don't really think of medicine balls as a deceleration exercise, but like if you're doing a shot put, that front leg has to stiffen, has to decelerate your body so that you can produce the force with the back side.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I think it's so I don't know, so symbiotic. I don't know what the word is, but it correlates, or whatever word you want to use, with real movement so well that it's kind of hard to deny their usage.
Oh yeah, and especially like as an older population, I find like older people tend to golf more. They tend to play tennis more. Like all those sports are like rotational sports, and performing like med balls obviously is going to help be able to do those, to form like golf or tennis in a safe way. I mean, most of those rotational sports, if you have no like med ball background, like you're an older person who just started getting into it, you're most likely going to have some like lower back pain, just because that's where you're tending to rotate from versus actually putting force into the ground and like using your upper back to rotate. So I find like I'm able to help a lot more older people, I should say, just by teaching them like a simple rotational like med ball scoop toss. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. And plus, like, we are rotational beings.
Yeah.
Like your right leg goes forward when your left leg goes forward. The movement is really just a series of tiny little rotations. Yeah. So it makes good sense. What are some of the pitfalls of medicine balls that you see, like where people really get themselves hung up, like technique flaws, or volume flaws, or intensity flaws, or programming flaws, like starting too soon on exercises, maybe something like that?
Yeah, I would say you have to take a step back and ask yourself what the goal is. As an older individual, like if your goal is to lose fat, then I would say sticking to like heavier med ball stomps is completely okay, because we do want to add a little bit of resistance to it and get you to be able to like move a little bit faster. So heavier weights are okay when it comes to that. So thinking anywhere from like 8 to 12 pound med balls is perfectly fine for that. I would say if your goal is to learn to be explosive and more like speedy, I should say, you want to stick to the lighter side of the spectrum, just because that's the whole point of med balls, is to produce rotational power. And when it comes to that, it's like you need to be able to move fast, period. So if you're taking like a 30-year-old mom of two, and she wants to increase her speed and learn how to be a little bit more explosive, she's going to have to use like a 4-pound med ball or 6-pound med ball, because that's the point. It's teaching her to rotate fast. And it kind of just happens naturally if you give them like a lighter ball. I do sometimes will use a heavier ball, say if someone is cheating with like a scoop toss and taking the 4-pound med ball like out and around their body, just because the heavier med ball will teach them to load in the proper manner, and it kind of just happens naturally.
It just happens.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my favorite things about medicine balls, is if you get people in the right position and you just say, okay, throw it. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, just throw it. Like, that's done. Like, just throw it.
Yeah.
And they uncoil and they launch that thing. It's like, yep, you did it perfect.
Yeah. Like some people.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's huge. It's like the best moment ever. And then you can go from there, obviously. But especially with like the older population, say like 50 plus, like always start them off light, like just to like build confidence, let them understand it a little bit more. I think that's huge.
Yeah. I like to put lighter medicine balls in their hands up front. Just like, I hate the lag that ends up happening sometimes. Like, if their hips come through first and they lag around, they're trying to rotate with that low back, or if they just can't handle the weight in their hands, like they can't catch it off of the wall or for whatever reason. The lighter ball, like, I just like to give them something that they can handle, and then later on we can throw something a little heavier.
Exactly.
But that's our population, so it could be different across the board. But any other big? I always say we're going to shut these off at 1, so we might actually make it this time, Nancy. Any other big words of wisdom or things you want to throw down, or encouragement, or you can go wherever you want with it?
I would say when it comes to med ball, things like that, if you want to get better at it, that's something that you really are struggling with, definitely take the time and look up YouTube videos of like your favorite hitter in the MLB, and just slow it down and take a look at like what they're doing and focus on one thing, and kind of ask your trainer or the place that you're at, like, hey, like, what do you think of this? How can I be able to throw a med ball like this individual or something like that? But a lot of people are really good at like copycatting. So if you watch a video and you kind of understand it, or you see it, like, try and just copy it. So for a lot of people, that really works. Taking a video of yourself is huge. Take a video of yourself take a video of yourself throwing the med ball, and then take a step back, look at it, and you can kind of see where your flaws are. If you're really, really struggling with med ball stuff, like, get a coach. Get a coach who looks athletic and watch them throw a med ball. So, like, you could have a personal trainer in your gym who looks super jacked, but like they move super stiff. So that's not always the case. Usually it's a little bit like a thicker build person, but they tend to be a little bit like long and lanky, and they understand that. But so find a good mentor. I should say that's huge. As a coach, when it comes to cueing with med balls, I would say you want to stay away from internal cues. So working with med balls, it's happening so fast that it's a full body movement. It's not an isolation exercise like a bicep curl, or say like a row where you're really honing in on like your bicep or like your lat, something like that. So like those are like, okay, like you can internal cue that all day, but when it comes to med ball, it's a full body exercise. So telling them to, take their foot and drive it through the ground, or, resemble their hips as like headlights. And as they finish, they want both headlights to finish or to face the wall. When it comes to slams, like pretending it's a pumpkin and you want to smash it, any of those analogies, I should say, work a lot better than, hey, I want you to, externally rotate your foot and drive your big toe like into the ground. So
whenever we get new trainers, that's always how they first start out, is like giving all those little cues, like really use your lats to throw this ball at the floor.
Yeah, like that's like pointless. And people have no idea where their lats are anyway, and they're just going to nod their head and agree with you. Yeah, because they want you to stop.
Okay. Yeah, it's always fun. You got to figure out what their kind of blow off face is. But by the way, I've been wanting to ask you, every time you say old people, what's old to you?
I would say probably once you hit over that 50 mark.
Okay. All right. It's getting close to the old stage.
I'd say, yeah, you're halfway, Yeah. Like, you're over halfway. I mean, you might have 40 years to live. But I'd say you're older,
Yeah.
Why?
I can go along with that.
How old are you, Adam?
I'm not 50. No, I'm 32. 32 for the time being.
32? Yeah. Hey, that's awesome. Great age.
Why, are you 32?
No, I'm not. Guess how old I am.
Yeah. Now, people usually peg me for up in my 40s, so it's always kind of sad. But I'm hoping I'm going to take it that you thought that I was younger, so we'll leave it there.
Yeah, of course. Listen, well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. This was cool. I think everybody got a lot from it, and that was extremely informative. I really enjoyed talking about it. I like talking shop like this, so it's nice. But thanks for being here. What's that?
I said it's so fun. I love talking shop.
Yeah, it's kind of the best part of the deal. But anyway, thanks for being here. We're gonna sign off, guys. But if you guys would like to see Nancy back on the show sometime, write in the comments section. And Nancy, I'm gonna tag you in this here in just a little bit, and you'll be able to share it out and do whatever you want with it too. But thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. And guys, go ahead and comment in the comments section. Take the time to slap the share button and send it out. This is really pretty profound information that there's multiple things in here that I have paid thousands of dollars for, and information products that she spoke on that most trainers have no clue about, that they might not even understand what she was talking about. So lots of really good information. We're going to sign off now, but thank you so much, Nancy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam.
It's